Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Space Weather. Today we've got a solar flare watch in effect. We've seen a ton of 245 megahertz radio bursts. If you were a patron, you'd already know. Consider becoming one at patreon.com/smAsho. More protons showing up at the ionosphere level. Changes in the B field and more. Let's blast through a whole bunch of info. Here is the 131 angstroms view from the SDO. And I would suspect some activity coming from this area throughout the day today. That's where the solar flare watch should be oriented. We'll show you why throughout the video. The radio flux is still at over 100, solar flux units at 104. There's a one-year chart, looks like it needs to be updated. Solon.info. And the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard has now been updated as well. You can see the monthly value here, over 90 for November. So that is a big uptick. And bye-bye solar minimum. Hello, solar cycle 25. Next, we've got our HelioViewer movies. We're going to show them early in the video today. We've been varying when this content arrives. Allow me to get off the screen. And there's a LASCO C2 in the 304 angstroms. Let's zoom in. Here's a full disk view in 304 angstroms. Lots of activity in the southern hemisphere. And again, big changes in the B field. Here are the magnetic fields of the southern hemisphere. Sunspot 2786 might be growing once again. And there's a bunch of interaction going on between it and the umbrae that trail it. You'll be able to see it in 171 angstroms. First, a close-up in 304. A bunch of filaments down there in the southeast as well as in the southwest. And here's the same area in 171 angstroms. And this wavelength is very efficient at showing us where ionized iron orients to magnetic field force lines. The main reason why it's my favorite wavelength. Check out that filamentary activity in the southwest and the southeast. Lots of plasma suspended out there once again, and a possibility for serious coronal mass ejections and major solar flares. Here's a full disk view in that same wavelength. Now, here at the Smash News Network, we greatly appreciate realistic data, and that's why we make the daily space weather videos. And I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. Please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/smAsho. Don't worry, patrons, your credit crawl will resume tomorrow. Patreon.com/smAsho if you want early warnings and all kinds of ringtones and music and other things. We would also invite you to check out smAshomash.com. Visit our social media links. There's exclusive content on all of those different social media links, as well as the smAsho forum, which is smAshomash.com/forum. Today's featured product is available at these two stores here. Today's featured product is the Smash Team shirt, available in a variety of colors. And don't forget to enter the promo code smAsho at checkout to save 10% on all orders through Christmas. We've got a little cosmology segment to show you today. First, I would also remind our viewers to press like and subscribe over on YouTube. The video can't continue until you do, so that's okay. We'll wait for that to happen. No, that's okay. Take your good old time. We'll be here when you get back from pressing like and subscribe. Perhaps even press the share button and the notification bell. Share with your friends and foes. Thanks to our new subscribers over at youtube.com/smAshomash. You can also find our content on BitChute, and there are exclusives there as well. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Just having reached 104 followers, thanks to all of our new followers over on Twitter. Fascinating conversations last night, laughing at people who don't understand balance sheets or Birkeland currents. We are currently streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smAshomash. Thanks everybody who's been watching the content over at Twitch. Shout out to Razorfist. We left him a great meme last night about the economic policies of a certain legislator. A certain legislator. And we've moved on to the cosmology segment. We're not going to roll any dice today. We're going to talk about J1807-+132, which is an X-ray binary. Now, X-ray binaries typically consist of some sort of a normal star and a more massive object orbiting it, siphoning plasma off and creating an ionized disk in between it. We see some interesting outbursts known as Type 1 X-ray bursts from MAXI J1807-+132. And there's an article on the phys.org website, phys.org, in the astronomy and cosmology. Astronomy and space, I believe, is the header. So perhaps have a read about that. And if you want to follow it yourself, just head to the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory, and you'll be able to find J1807-+132 there. Very interesting in that it shut down entirely here between 2017 and 2019, and then turned back on in a very consistent fashion. A consistent X-ray source, except during those couple of years there. And it's actually been doing the same over the past couple of days here. It shut down just a few days ago and then turned back on to its consistent X-ray output. And that's really all we have today's cosmology segment, because there's too much going on in the local area, so much that I'll have to vanish and move on. Too much stuff to cover equals shorter videos. Again, please share with your friends and foes, science noobs and science pros. We've got something for everybody at the channel. Next, looking at the real-time solar wind to see another likely coronal mass ejection strike right here, where the solar wind went all the way from 0.38 protons per cubic centimeter up to 12, stayed consistent, and then suddenly dropped back down to very low levels. Currently only at 2.27 protons per cubic centimeter in terms of solar wind density, solar wind speed 421 kilometers a second. That's 421 kilometers a second. We also saw an extended KP0 period here for 18 hours. And we will look at cosmic rays later. Current KP index, a measurement of global geomagnetism. And thanks again to new viewers, at 2. Here's the magnetohydrodynamic pressure in the magnetosphere. And we see some variations there. This is 4 hours of data courtesy of University of Michigan Geospace Model. Ground magnetic perturbations map still not working, still not animated. And we've seen proton flux come back. Looked like it was going to subside yesterday, and it did indeed drop down. Now it's come back up. approaching warning levels. Looks like it's going to subside again. And we saw slightly lower levels right around midnight universal time right here than we did yesterday. Again, don't be surprised to see major solar flares happen today, as we saw a massive series of 245 megahertz radio bursts. And again, if you were a patron, you'd probably already know that if you're getting alerts through your patreon.com/smAsho. Anyway, there's a 3-day chart on the electron flux. I like to know what's going on above my head. I use in-the-sky.org. And if you're up before dawn, once again, you may see the third brightest object in the sky, Venus, and the second brightest object in the sky, the moon. And let's look at cosmic rays. Here's the opacity neutron monitor. And we did see an uptick here and then a downtick over the past few days. You can see from the 27th at opacity, we saw an increase in cosmic ray flux and then a decrease, coinciding with the KP0 18-hour period. At Barentsburg, not quite the same story. A little bit more level over that period. Levels now dropping off at Barentsburg. Let's go farther south to Athens, Greece. And we regularly cover cosmic rays at the smAsho News Network because we're interested in real data, not nonsense and agendas. There's the 30-day chart at Athens. Pretty flat there. Let's go even farther south to Mexico City. Uptick there for the past 2 weeks at Mexico City, although flat over the past 30 days. And next we'll look at Oulu, Finland, and DOMC Antarctica's neutron monitors. There's Oulu, flat over the past 30, and there's DOMC. And you can monitor these yourself. Just look up links to cosmic ray data, and you'll find this network of cosmic ray stations site. I wanted to note one other thing here. I wanted to note how the thermosphere index was much colder and more consistently cold at the last solar minimum than it was at the recently ended solar minimum. And you can see we're all the way up. Much warmer thermosphere than last time. Another indication that the recently ending solar minimum not as minimal as the last, which is good news for mankind. And next I just wanted to show you the view from stereo A real quick, as we've got Venus showing up. And just bear with me a minute, we are streaming live here. You see Venus showing up in the stereo A imagery. And you can see it showing up there in the upper right. It's not a spaceship, it's Venus. And if you're wondering where it's located at Lagrange point 5, looking at the sun from this angle. That's a great diagram. I've added stereo A to that one, thanks to NASA. And so this gives you a great indication of where stereo A is located. It's located right here, quite close to that point, as obviously you're seeing quite a straight line there from stereo A through Venus. That's where things are in the solar system. And there's where things will be in a week. Magnetometers continuing to show high lows and high highs. And we see some serious polar field strength, apparent solar polar field strength. We'll show you on the next series of slides, such as this one, the top view ecliptic plane field plot. And it looks like we're going to remain in the North Pole oriented current sheet here, shown in green, for the foreseeable future. We'll let you know if that changes. Just keep in mind the magnetic environment can suddenly change with absolutely no warning. This data 1 hour and 47 minutes old. Next, we'll look at the line of sight coronal hole field plot. And you can see these changes in the B field once again here. The B field being yanked down toward this area of activity in the southeast, as well as major coronal holes in the entire southern hemisphere. Please leave a comment if you have theories about the relationship between coronal holes and sunspots. I've got them, but I'm not going to divulge them in this video, as that would be a cosmology segment, not a daily space weather video. Here's a line of sight field plot including the Z fields, the solar polar fields shown in green and red, as well as the magnetometer data. You can see right at the end a sudden pull down of that Z field, of that B field in blue right here. And that is an indication we'll stay in the North Pole current sheet. Let's talk electrons. We see fairly normal and consistent levels, no charging hazards. There's the 1-year chart from solon.info. And NOAA's forecasting a precipitous uptick here in the electron flux. Expect communication errors when you get up to these levels, GPS errors and so on, and some satellite drag, charging hazards, etc. I would concur with that forecast. There's the 3-day chart of the GOES electron flux. And for you new viewers, that is being measured around the ionospheric F layer. Here's a visualization of the electron content. It's the total electron content forecast, the CTIPE. And we see some polar anomalies here. Electrons showing up around the north and south pole, which is not particularly normal, as well as big anomalies over North America, as we've been seeing that for a couple of weeks here, actually. And so what we're talking about, this is the F layer of the ionosphere. That is where the GOES 16 is making its measurements, the magnetometer, the electron flux, the proton flux, and so on, all being measured at the F layer. And I'll just leave that on the screen for a moment. That's a great image from NASA. And here's just one slice of that. It's the ionosphere. And I haven't looked at this myself. Will it be anomalous? It is a little bit anomalous there. We're seeing it suddenly charge up and charge back down, making it up to, looks like 11, 12 megahertz there. And here's the latest image, that one coming through at 10:15 Universal Time. We see major absorption here around the poles once again, as we see the proton event continuing. Looked like it was going to subside yesterday, but it is continuing on. Looks once again like it's going to subside. Leave a comment if you have a forecast. I don't know why it won't animate. It animated just fine yesterday. But we've actually seen the scale expand here. Since I woke up today, it went from 30 to 35. So perhaps we will see even higher levels. No forecast for you there. Speaking of forecasts, I wanted to show you how off NOAA has been about projected sunspot number and radio flux. Only forecasting a sunspot number of 9.4 for the month of November and 15.4 for a high. I think we got a little higher than that. We approached 100 for a sunspot number high. And we're still at like 60 sunspots. And we won't get into the counting of sunspots. Also way off in the radio flux forecast, the 10.7 centimeter radio flux, over 100, which is not forecasted by NOAA to happen until the year 2022. Welcome to Solar Cycle 25. It's been ramping up awfully quickly. Speaking of ramping up, volcano activity has done so a little bit too. Kluchevskoye is still erupting. 22,000 foot ash plume there. Sakurajima now back on the list. 7,000 foot ash plume there. Suwanosejima exploded. Not sure on the size of the ash plume there. Don't fly your ultralight home-built kit aircraft over it. Sinabung, 10,000 foot ash plume there. Luatolo, which produced some stratospheric scale eruptions in the past few days, still producing a 15,000 foot ash plume. Semaru exploding. That one also, I'm told, produced a 50,000 foot ash plume a few days ago. Still producing a 15,000 foot consistent ash plume there. Popocatépetl looks like it's dispersed its volcanic ash according to satellite imagery. Fuego is producing sporadic emissions. Telica producing a 5,000 foot ash plume as it explodes, and we're unable to detect whether or not Sabancaya is exploding. Please do not attempt to do a back handspring over the caldera. Earthquake forecast. Earthquake watch remains in effect, folks. And we've seen an uptick in earthquakes making up for the lack of 6 magnitude quakes. We still see a massive drought of 7, 8, and 9 magnitude earthquakes. If you're in an area such as these, please be prepared for what will happen when a large earthquake happens. Try to be an asset, not a liability. If building facades start to collapse, know which ones may. If you're going to evacuate yours when the shaken starts to awaken your bacon. Let's scroll up the list. Largest of the past 24 was at 6.4. We also saw deep quakes such as this 4.6 at Indonesia. That 6.4 showing up at Nikolsky, Alaska, in the middle of the Aleutian Island chain. Also a 5.7 south of Alaska. And we're just going to scroll up the list. There was also a 6.2 near the Australian/Antarctic plate boundary. Deep quake strikes Tonga at a 4.8 magnitude and 243 kilometer depth. So lots of quakes here, including a 5.1 in Nevada. That one came in at 23:22 yesterday evening Universal Time. And we just saw the list update. We'll just continue scrolling up the list here. Lots of aftershocks striking Nevada as well. .5 magnitude, 150 kilometer deep quake in Indonesia. Next, looking at windy.com as we get into meteorological data. Here is the pressure map, complete with ISO lines. Major high pressure system over the Central Rockies as well as the North Atlantic and North Central Asia. Major high pressure in the Northern Hemisphere, major low pressure in the South. Welcome to Earth. All your weather comes from space. We're going to advance this into the GFS forecast. And there's where we expect things to be according to the GFS forecast at 12 noon tomorrow. Let me just check the life of the stream here, address any comments that may have been made. And we don't see any, so let's get back to it. Nullschool.net's jet streams are the next segment. Here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. And check out the divergence of the jet stream here. The jet stream going due east and then splitting into north and south segments over the Central Atlantic. Some cold air being injected all the way down to Texas as well. Extreme bends in the Northern Hemisphere jet stream especially. Here is the Eastern world's jet stream scenario. A little more coherent over there, although we do have it blowing backwards over the Indian Ocean once again. Jet stream moving east to west and similarly splitting as it did over the Atlantic into north and south directed jet streams. That's the 250 hectopascal winds, by the way, here at nullschool.net. Next, we'll look at lightning. And it looks like we've seen quite a bit of lightning here over the past 24. Actually, I'm not sure how much time that shows. But in any case, there is the real-time lightning map, courtesy lightningmaps.org. It's where I go when I hear thunder. And here's the GOES 16 lightning mapper. Nothing to comment on there. And we see a low pressure system here over western Pennsylvania, producing a bunch of snow. And I saw some snow yesterday around Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, down to Mount Pocono on Route I-476, the northeast extension of Pennsylvania. And if you're wondering what I was doing up there, well, I am part of the administrative personnel facilitating the lab testing of your food supply for the northeastern portion of the continent. Our company is the worldwide leader in lab testing for food safety purposes. And yeah, that's the applied science that I've been doing in the field, and then coming home and busting my you-know-what to do more applied science here at home and providing competent and relevant information to our viewers. Cheers. Anyway, that's the U.S. Doppler radar map. And interestingly, it's actually warmer there, apparently, in Maine than it is in western Pennsylvania. It's lake effect snow, and it's snowing hard in Erie in those areas, such as northeastern Ohio. Let's take a look at the cloud layer. And we see consistent low clouds here over the Gulf of Mexico as well as the Atlantic Ocean there off the eastern seaboard. And here's what's going on in the water vapor layer. And we'll switch back and forth to the cloud layer. And then we'll zoom in on Lake Erie. And for all you folks looking at the Doppler radar wondering what will happen next, this should help. Cloud layer, water vapor. Cloud layer, water vapor. And now we'll zoom in on this low pressure over western PA. Shrink it down a little bit. And if you're on a flight over Pennsylvania, expect some massive pressure gradients. For example, if you're flying in a path like this, dry massive air equals sudden turbulence. And it's time for me to vanish, as we've got bonus features. We're going to show you the 48-hour SDO video. We'll do 335 angstroms today. We're going to show you the current sunspot situation in terms of the solar intensity gram and the colorized magnetogram. The most latest image in ultra high res. And there's sunspot 2785 and 2786. Here's the area that I'll be keeping an eye on throughout the day. And when I say eye on, well, you get it. Here are the current ombre and penumbre. And there's, I believe that's 27, I'm not sure what number it is. There's the full disk view. Here is 335 angstroms. And just give that a moment to load. It'll probably be well worth it. Thanks again for tuning into the Smash News Network. Remember, stare at the sun. If you're drinking, don't drive. Don't allow ridiculous, ineffective, nonsensical government policies to drive you to drink. Because this too shall pass. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Please visit our links, support the channel. Thanks again to our patrons, and may that solar wind be at your back.